Have you ever been to a listing appointment and you knew the seller should do some updates, but you had no idea what to recommend? Like what paint colors are in, what flooring is popular, what's the best bang for your buck when it comes to prepping the home for the market? Great questions, right? Well, today's guest is Jordan Smith, and he covers all of that and more. He's out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and specializes in turning ugly homes into pretty homes. He's helped investors and homeowners transform almost 70 homes in the past couple of years and is here to help us know what's hot and what's not in today's market. Expect to learn what to do with the exterior for the best curb appeal, whether to recommend ceiling fans or chandeliers, when to do carpet versus LVP, whether to do real staging or virtual staging, and stick around to the end for how to help your seller estimate the costs of all of these items. You're listening to the Real Estate Rockstars podcast, the show for agents who've been around the block and are finally ready to build sustainable, scalable businesses, ones that you don't secretly hate or want to escape from. My name is Shelby Johnson. I'm an Army veteran turned real estate entrepreneur turned podcast host, and I'm a conference junkie. Bringing up this conference note today to remind you, one, the 2025 Real Estate Rockstars Mastermind is the best event of the year, and tickets are on sale now. There's a link in the show notes, or you can hit me up on Instagram at The Shelby Show for the full scoop. And two, I am going to the Tom Ferry Summit in Dallas in August and would love to meet up. So let me know if you're going. And now, Rockstars, welcome Jordan Smith. So hypothetically, I've got a listing and it needs a little bit of a facelift before going on the market, like normal stuff. Walls are scuffed, little dated, carpets beyond repair, the norm. But the problem is the sellers are looking at me and they're like, yo, Shelby, like, what do I do? And I'm like, yo, sorry, dude, I have no style, like not even a little bit, but let me call my boy Jordan. And so here we are, Jordan, let's start with some general tips on what's hot and not these days. And then we're going to dig in like room by room, all of it.
Okay, great. All right. So just in general, right, what we're seeing right now is folks who are in favor of like the creamy whites instead of the grays, right? So agreeable gray gets thrown around a bunch as like, the tried and true color. And that's true for, I think, the past. But, what we're seeing right now is like really creamy white. So like our go-to creamy white is a Sherwin-Williams color called Alabaster, and Benjamin Moore version of that, I think it's like Swiss Coffee, but it's just kind of off-white, right? It's not yellowy, but it's also not like stark white, like make you feel like you're in a sterile mental hospital, right? So we're seeing white walls. I think that from a prospective buyer standpoint with a house that's going to market really helps folks to be able to envision themselves there, right? And no matter if their kind of color palette with their furniture is like navy blue or like blacks and grays or whatever, it all goes really well in that. So we're seeing the creamy whites on the walls. We're seeing lighter floors are really in right now. So whether you're going LVP or engineered hardwood or whatever like that, the lighter, like natural white oak looking floors are really in right now. And then, matte black still having a moment. It's a little played out at this point. People are putting matte black everything everywhere. But for like stuff like door hardware, hinges, stuff like that, that's still very much in. But as far as like the light fixtures, bath faucets, stuff like that, brass is actually having a moment right now. So kind of that brushed gold or that brushed brass, not shiny brass like 90s, apartment brass, but that brushed brass is really kind of looks high end and doesn't really cost a whole lot more than, your brushed nickel or matte black fixtures.
Okay. Love it. Perfect. And also I know, and normally I don't talk about the tool till much later, but I know that you have like a super cool visual to go along with everything that you're saying right now for those visual people. And so, will you share a little bit about the tool that you're provided for our listeners?
Yeah, so it is one of the ways I run my business is that I do full design consultation and full design packages for real estate investors. And so what you're getting there in the toolkit is actually a full fix and flip design guide from a previous project that we're offering, for free. And so what that's got is mood boards. So you can visually see, how everything gets pulled together, inspiration images that we pulled from. You're also going to get a purchasing list. So it's actually an Excel spreadsheet that you can actually go down and click through and find the exact door hardware we use, the exact cabinet knobs, the exact, vanity light fixture, stuff like that. And all that's there in the toolkit. Now, I will tell you that's, a handful of years old, maybe 3 years old. And it's very kind of modern farmhouse, which again is still pretty popular, but I think in my personal opinion, kind of on the way out.
Okay, that sounds perfect. And I know you said it's like on the way out. It's so funny. Like somehow my brain is still, I think, stuck in 2019 when it comes to style, because like for sure I thought agreeable gray was still a thing. And like, I know back in the day we used to do a bunch of flips, and it used to be that like gray on gray, like the floor, it was like wood, quote unquote wood, but it was like no wood that you'd ever seen in real life because that shit was gray.
Yeah, people have grayed out the new construction and the flip housing market for a very long time. I think finally, I hope 2024 is the year that we actually get to bury agreeable gray and like put the headstone and all that jazz. But we'll see, But again, I think we're trending in the right direction. Folks, everything's driven by what you see everywhere else, right? So, you got folks who watch a lot of HGTV and Modern Farmhouse was super in because Joanna Gaines and Fixer Upper was a real big deal. Now Shay McGee and her husband Sid have a Netflix show, Studio McGee's their brand. And so they're more of the like creamy whites, the brass, all of that. And so that's really in right now because it's popular because people are watching on TV. And so they want their house to look like what they're seeing on TV. So we try to replicate that when we design for the market.
Okay, before we go into like area by area, room by room, one more question that I feel like we get all the time. You probably get it from investors. I know the agents get it from sellers where they're like, what's the biggest bang for my buck? Like if I have a certain budget and I want to make the biggest impact on this house, what do you recommend doing?
Yeah, great question. So, a couple things. Number one, fresh coat of paint always going to help out. I think fresh coat of neutral paint, right? How many houses have you seen? You're on the MLS every day looking at stuff that's for sale. You're working with buyers. How many houses have you seen that are sitting because they've got a hot pink bedroom from a kid's room, or they've got a yellow living area, or, somebody thought this was a great idea because their favorite color was navy to paint, this house navy, So I think fresh coat of paint for sure. Continuous flooring is a really big deal, right? So for whatever reason, our specialty kind of focus area that we focus in is like 1990 and newer. And so that's like really kind of relatively newer construction. The bones are really, really still good. You're not having to like gut those to the studs, but they're cosmetically, they need a lot, right? And one of the things that we commonly find in all of these houses, and my house was my very first house I ever bought was a new build. I think it was built in 2010, and it had 3 different floorings within like 12 feet of each other, right? So it had the engineered hardwood right in the entry, and then it went to carpet in the living room, and then tile in the kitchen, right? And you can like see all of these at the same time, and what it does is it makes the house feel very disconnected, very disjointed. So continuous flooring is a really big deal. If you can run the same flooring all through the main living spaces, that's a huge win. And then lastly, I'll just say kitchens and bathrooms. Kitchen and bathrooms sell houses, right? So even if you don't have the money to completely gut and overhaul the kitchen or gut a bathroom or whatever, in the kitchens, if you've got decent cabinets and you can paint them white and you can put in new countertops that are updated. And when I say updated countertops, I mean marble look quartz is really what we go for. That's really not super crazy expensive. It's going to give you that solid surface countertop. It's going to give you the look of really high-end marble without having the high maintenance of it. And it's going to look way better than granite. And in my opinion, even though it may not appraise higher than granite from a dollar for dollar resale value, folks are going to pick a house with quartz versus a house with granite all day long, in my personal opinion. So even if you can just like paint your cabinets, new countertops, maybe a white subway tile backsplash, and then update your cabinet hardware, I think that goes a long way. In bathrooms, like I'm not asking you to rip out the fiberglass shower and spend a ton of money doing this really expensive high-end tile package. But if you can just update the fixtures, maybe update the vanity, mirrors, light fixtures, that kind of stuff aesthetically goes a long way.
So when in moving to Lexington, we bought a house that is outdated. It's exactly what we're talking about. Same thing. You walk in and there's hardwood, there's regular carpet in one room. The dining room literally has red carpet on it, which is fine. I know we're going to fix it up. Speaking of the bathroom, something that I did, I was so proud of this, is that the mirror, it's this giant mirror in like the hall, the guest bath upstairs. And I found this tape. I don't know if you're going to hate me for this. There's this tape on Amazon that it's this thick wood looking black tape. And I literally taped around the edges of this mirror, and literally just looking at it, it changed like the whole space. It makes it look so much better than just the glass that, had like through age, it was like kind of like crinkle. I don't know what it's called. Like coming apart at the edges. So that's my little, what do you think about that? Are you like shame, Shelby? Or are you like, oh, good one?
No, I think that's one of the biggest things for a lot of people is like, they think it's all or nothing, right? So they think it's like, there's no like affordable way to get from point A to point B. And so it's really overwhelming. Like, hey, Jordan, I don't have 70 grand to sink into my house to get it ready for the market. And it's like, okay, well, cool. But like, could we buy this $5 roll of tape off of Walmart or off of Amazon? And could you do it one weekend? Like, absolutely. So that's a really easy fix. I mean, a good buddy of mine that I was talking to earlier, he renovated his house and it had that, they're like 12 by 12, like travertine square tiles in the bathroom. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about or not. They're actually coming back in, but they looks like super dated, 12 by 12 square tiles. And he just hated it because they were like brown. So he bought, outdoor porch paint. So porch paint is like highly durable, high traffic, whatever. And he actually painted his tile black. And so it made the whole floor of his bathroom look black with the white walls and like natural wood accents, brass accents. It looked incredible. And it cost him $40 for a gallon of porch paint. And I think he rolled it in like an afternoon on a Saturday, and just like major visual wow factor for not a lot of money. So I'm a huge fan of that kind of stuff.
Love that. Okay, Jordan, let's step outside of this hypothetical house. Okay. And from the street looking towards a house, and we can pretend it's in Charlotte, because I know that I think you've mentioned to me before that a lot of the things that you recommend are geographically specific. So houses in Arizona are not going to have the same recommendations as a house where you are in Charlotte. So we'll just go Charlotte for the purpose of this. So I'm standing on the street and I'm looking at this like very 3-bed, 2-bath, normal house. What are the things I need to be looking at?
Kind of cookie cutter, vinyl village, new, like built in the 90s or early 2000s, like that kind of thing, Shelby? Okay. So, cost effective wise, like if you just power wash the vinyl siding, like it kind of is what it is, right? So you just need to embrace it. You're not going to reside a house and make a tremendous amount of return on investment. So really, when we're looking at the outside of a house, really the only things we're doing are maybe painting the front door a color that goes along with the palette of the rest of the house, and then updating the exterior light fixtures if there are one, either the flush mount or the like coach lights or the lantern style lights on the house. And then we're a huge fan of those. I don't know if you've seen them. They carry them online and in all the big box stores, but it's kind of like a modern font, black, thin house number. So that's typically all we're doing to the outsides of our houses is light fixtures, house numbers, painting the front door color, maybe updating the door hardware.
Any popular door colors right now? I know you mentioned having it go along with the rest of the color of the house, but just off the top of your head, what is popular right now?
Yeah, I think if you can paint your front door black and it doesn't clash with the rest of the house, I think that's a statement maker. People tend to like that. It's bold, but it's not so polarizing as like baby blue or pink or bright red or whatever, right? So Sherwin-Williams Tricorn Black, it's like a true, deep, dark black. We're actually doing a house right now. We just painted the door today. And I saw an Instagram reel that says that houses with black front doors sell like 16% faster, or it was like for 16% more money than houses without a black front door. Now, the data may support that. I think the rationale behind it is if you can work, black is a bold color, right? So if you can work that into your color palette for the house and your design element for the house, and it's not like the only edgy thing about the house, then you probably know what you're doing from a design and renovation standpoint. And so, of course, those houses are going to drive a premium, right? So, but black is like kind of tried and true. You can't really mess with it. So that's what we typically do on ours. If it works with everything else, is Sherwin-Williams Tricorn Black.
I'm standing at the street. I'm looking. We got the power washing the vinyl. We're going to paint the front door, updating exterior light fixtures. We're going to get that modern front house font. Wow. Font house number. Quick, before we go inside, any tips on landscaping?
Yeah, I'm not the landscape guy. I will tell you that that's not my strong suit. I typically defer to other folks on my team for that. But fresh mulch goes a long way. We're team mulch over team pine straw all day. I like black mulch because it just looks a little bit different. Again, a little more modernized over the brown mulch. Please, for the love of God, do not use red mulch, or I will personally hunt you down and there will be consequences. And then, some nice, just some green, we typically try to stay away from flowers because flowers are really easy to kill. And if you're not, especially if you're redoing the house and you're not living there and you're not watering it, you don't have an irrigation system, sprinkler system, something like that. It's really easy to sink a lot of money into plants and then they die before closing, right? The other thing is we don't spend a ton of money on landscaping and plants because really what you're doing is picking someone else's plants for them to move into the house, which is a little bit odd, right? Like if it's established, bushes or trees or whatever, that's cool. But if you're going to go spend a bunch of money on small stuff that then has to grow into big plants, and it's not what the folks who are buying the house really want, then I think ultimately at the end of the day, they're going to dig them up and throw them away anyway. And then you just kind of wasted money. So just a handful of green plants with some dark mulch tends to kind of make the house pop a little bit from the front yard and kind of set you up for success.
Yes. Okay. At this point, we are opening the front door and let's pretend we're in a entryway mud room thing. What do I need to be looking out for? Or just first instinct opening the house, tell me, what am I thinking?
Most entryways, if it's a 2-story house, you're likely walking in the front door and there's stairs close to you somewhere, right? So the things when we're walking into a house, usually that front room as well is kind of it could be one of a couple things, right? It's either going to probably be a formal dining room. It's going to be an office, a flex room, something like that. So a couple things. Number one, from a light fixture standpoint, you usually have got a light there on the ceiling in the entryway. That's an opportunity to throw a little bit of pizzazz. So something that's not just a flat can light or flush mount light or something like that. If you can do a semi flush that hangs down within a foot of the ceiling and not hit people in the head, that's always a really good opportunity to put kind of a little bit of a fancier light there because it is the first thing you see. The stairs there, you're going to want to do something with those, right? So if you got really good existing stairs that are hardwood on top with painted risers, then fresh coat of paint on the risers. Make sure whatever flooring you're putting on either side of those stairs matches those risers, or matches the treads. You can always have those refinished by a flooring company. If it's carpet, then I would probably, that was another thing that I've forgotten I failed to mention earlier is a fresh round of carpet in a house, especially if it's been lived in or if you've got pets or something like that. If you could throw some fresh carpet in, it's super cheap and it's way more affordable on the stairs than trying to run LVP up the stairs and all that gets super expensive. If you can put fresh carpet in, even if you're running that up the stairs and in the bedrooms and stuff like that, just a neutral kind of a creamy, tannish color, not too gray, like you said earlier, not too light where somebody's going to look at it and it's going to get dirty. That's going to go a long way as well. And then if you've got a room there on the front of the house that's kind of a flex room, I would probably put a cute light fixture in there as well. And I would, and we can talk about this later if you want to, but if you're going to stage the house, I would think of staging it like most people are going to use it, right? So home offices are still, I think, really big right now. So if you can show a space in your home that could be used as a home office, I think that's great. If you don't have a dining area that's adjacent to your kitchen and living room, and that's a good spot to put a formal dining room, I think those are still really in right now. And you could drop a chandelier there where the table would be. But something to really make an impact right when you open that door before you get into, the showstoppers, which are kitchens and primary bathrooms.
Okay, great. So we have that good light right up front, that first impression. We have the neutral new carpet, which goes a long way. Any place on those stairs, probably the bedrooms upstairs. We'll get to that in a second. And then in the dining room, chandelier where that table would be. So anything else in the dining room before we make our way into the kitchen?
It depends on how crazy you want to get, right? Like dining rooms for me are always a fun place to play around with molding. So not necessarily just like an accent wall, but wainscoting and chair rails are still, I think, really in dining rooms. A lot of people are kind of leaning towards the dark and moody rooms whether it's a formal dining or an office or whatever, where the whole room is, they call it color drenched, right? The ceilings, the crown molding, the trims, the walls, all are a kind of an accent color. And those are great, but I think the more hyper specific you get, the easier it gets to maybe get it wrong. And so I would just say, if you've got some wainscoting or whatever already in the dining room, then kind of embrace that. You could always do, an accent color on the top half of the wall or whatever in there, that's a little bit darker than the rest of the house. But I wouldn't get too crazy.
Question, side note, are popcorn ceilings still a thing? I know in Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is arguably, the armpit of North Carolina, where I did a bunch of flips, they had freaking popcorn ceilings on I don't know why, and it was horrible. And so then you have the debate of do I scrape it, and mud it? So is that still a thing? What are your thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, it is still a thing. So we just wrapped a project that is basically the exact renovation I'm telling you about. We're in the middle of another project. This is the exact same kind of thing. One did have popcorn. The other one did not. We're going to always spend the money to scrape that, right? The problem with that is if you're living in it, scraping popcorn it's like the messiest thing in the whole entire world. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it is. It's like it's snowed in your house, but it doesn't melt. It just hangs around and it's gross. So that could be a bit of a challenge, right? But if you've got the option to get that scraped and skim coated, and a fresh coat of paint on the ceilings, I would say it's worth it. Another thing some folks do is they actually cover it with really thin 1/4 inch drywall. So you could actually drywall right on top of the popcorn, finish that drywall, paint it, and then now you have smooth ceilings and nobody really knows the difference.
Fancy trick of the trade here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done with dining room. Let's move into the kitchen. So far you've already mentioned with the kitchen, the cabinets, if they're in good shape, you're going to paint them white. So you're going to update the fixtures in accordance with maybe your style guide in the toolkit, which I don't think I said it earlier, guys. You can go to realestaterockstarsnetwork.com and go to the toolbox and get Jordan's tool for free. But okay, so you have the updated fixtures. We didn't talk about hinges, but I'm assuming hinges are matching on these cabinets, right?
Yeah. So if you get the old style cabinet that has the exposed hinges where you can see that, yeah, you would definitely want to update those to match your knobs and pulls and your finishes there in the kitchen. Most kind of what I would call modern day cabinets are going to have hidden hinges. So the hinge is on the back side of the door, and then it attaches inside the frame of the cabinet. Cabinets are it's kind of the foundation of the kitchen, right? So when I say if your cabinets are in good condition, you can paint them. For sure, you can paint them. But if the cabinets are not super great quality already, they're that fiberboard that swells up when it gets wet, and all of that jazz. No matter how much you paint it, they're still going to be crappy cabinets, right? They're just going to now be crappy cabinets that are a different color. So there's these cabinets called RTA cabinets. That's not a brand. It's it's a type of cabinet. RTA stands for ready to assemble. So they come flat packed in a box. It's all the pieces of the cabinet, and then you put the cabinet together, and nail it together. And then now it's a box. So it comes flat in pieces and then you put the pieces together. And so those are really, really, really affordable because, the biggest issue with cabinetry is not that it costs a lot to make it. It just costs a lot to ship it when it's really big. So to cut down on that, they've learned how to ship it unassembled and then you can assemble them. It's probably doable by the average homeowner, but I would not advise it. But there are really good trim carpenters and cabinet installers and cabinet suppliers in whatever market the folks are listening to me in that could do a kitchen of cabinets for not very expensive. I mean, we're doing a kitchen right now that's probably 10 by 12. It's like an L shape with a peninsula, so almost like a U shape of cabinets. And I think all the cabinets installed were like less than $5,000, which is a lot of money, but it's not an astronomical amount of money. And an updated kitchen, I think, is going to pay for itself multiple times over. So,
okay, we talked about countertops already, and let's do flooring and then appliances. Flooring, are we just the same flooring that we're doing in the rest of the house, or what? And then hit me with appliances.
Yeah, so I would run the same flooring in the kitchen. We use LVP or luxury vinyl plank. It's waterproof, but it looks like wood, and it's really, we call it kind of like bomb proof, like it's like kid proof, pet proof, waterproof, all that jazz. So that's pretty commonplace. If you walk into like a big box hardware store, you're going to see lots of LVP on display. You can pick it up there. You could pick it up from like LL Flooring or any other kind of flooring distribution company. And it snaps together. It floats over the subfloor. You can put it on a concrete slab foundation or like a wooden subfloor foundation. Really affordable, big impact, not a lot of money. So we recommend LVP for all of the main living spaces. So if we're flipping usually if we're flipping or renovating a one-story house, we'll run it everywhere. Even in the bedrooms, if we have the budget to do that. If it's a 2-story house, we'll run it on the whole ground floor and then typically do kitchen in the hallway, in the bedrooms and stairs upstairs. And then any bathrooms, you can actually put LVP in as well because it's waterproof. So instead of having to get tile and get a tile guy and like all of that, you can just put LVP in the bathrooms, laundry rooms, mud rooms, stuff like that. And it holds up super great. So that's that, like I said, that kind of like light oak, natural white oak looking LVP. You should be able to get that for relatively affordable. I'd run that through the kitchen, and that's going to provide a really good contrast with your white cabinets, your marble look quartz countertops, some kind of white backsplash. And we didn't talk about sinks and faucets, but just a nice undermount. We like the big single bowl, sinks, because they make the sink obviously look bigger. I think gone are the days where folks really hand wash their dishes. I don't know if you're a hand dishwasher or not. We put everything in the dishwasher appliance. So one big bowl for the sink, and then stainless appliance package for sure.
Okay, real quick on brands. Do you think it matters? Are people just going to go get the cheapest stainless there is out there? Do you think it matters to buyers, in your opinion, with all of your flipping experience?
So I've gone back and forth on this, right? I think that it's a nice touch, right? If you can have an appliance suite that matches one another, right? If you got a GE, range and microwave and dishwasher and refrigerator, that's obviously like preference number one. Refrigerators are typically like the linchpin on a lot of these packages because refrigerators can get really freaking expensive. And I don't know what's commonplace in Kentucky, but in Charlotte, it can kind of go either way. Like, you don't have to sell the house with the fridge. So some houses come with fridges, some don't. But we try to include a refrigerator mainly because the price point that we're renovating is a lot of first time home buyers. And, with rates where they're at and buy downs and closing costs and all that, in my mind, the last thing somebody, especially if they're like an FHA buyer or something like that, who don't have a ton of savings, the last thing they really want to do is close on a house, spend a lot of money, and then turn around and drop $2 or $3 on a fridge, right? So what we're finding is if we eat that cost on the front end when we update the appliances, then really what they're doing is they're paying for it. They're just paying for it in the purchase price of their house, and they're rolling it into their mortgage. And we're able to charge the price point that we want and get that money back on the fridge. So if it's possible, I would say, yeah, absolutely. Let's group everything together and have it all matching. If you just updated your dishwasher and it's practically brand new and everything else needs to be updated, then I think it's okay if you got an oddball here or there. But I would hate to be like, mismatching like 4 different brands. I don't think that's going to go super well. I think it's a mental thing. Like, it doesn't really matter, but it's like a subconscious mental thing to buyers that it feels more luxe and high end if all the appliances match.
Okay, Jordan, we're pivoting now. We're going to the living room, or maybe we're just looking out from the kitchen, and there it is. So what do I need to know? Do you believe ceiling fans, no ceiling fans? Like, if there's a fireplace, am I painting it? Like, what else for the living room?
Yeah, great question. Okay. Can I be transparent with you, Shelby? Can I be vulnerable?
Always. Oh my God.
I'm a huge proponent of a chandelier in the living room because I think it looks fancy and good. And it's light fixtures are like earrings for women. So they're the earrings of the home. Okay. So we historically have erred on the side of putting a light fixture just because it's an opportunity to make a wow statement. What I find is that inevitably people are going to put their TVs on the wall, and then the chandelier is going to be in the way of the TV, and then they're going to get pissed off, and they're going to take the chandelier down and hang a ceiling fan anyway, right? So I think ceiling fans are perfectly fine in a living space, especially like down in the South where I live. It gets freaking hot. Just throw a ceiling fan in there. That's what we're doing on this renovation we're doing right now. We're popping in a new ceiling fan. I bought it today. I think it was $134 at Home Depot, and it's great. Yeah.
Installing those things suck though. That's only if they're doing it themselves. That's just a side note from having to do it once in my life. And I was like, I am hiring this out forever. Okay, Jordan. Now I think we're done with the living room. We've done dining, we've done kitchen. I think we are ready to do bedrooms. So within the bedrooms, do you put ceiling fans in all of them? Are there carpet? I mean, obviously, if you can afford it, you'll put the LVP throughout, but I assume carpet's in the bedroom. If not, what else for bedrooms?
Yeah, carpet in the bedrooms, I think it's totally fine. I mean, obviously, LVP, maybe a selling point for some folks. It's funny because bedrooms are like a polarizing thing. Like, some people love carpet in bedrooms. Some people hate carpet in bedrooms. If you put LVP, they can always throw a rug under the bed. But if budget's tight, carpet's fine. I think we typically put a ceiling fan in the primary bedroom for sure. And then depending on the price point, I think just a normal flush mount in the secondary bedrooms is okay. They make these, do not put a boob light in the bedroom. Do not put a boob light in your house. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say a boob light, Shelby? Okay. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Can I say boob on your podcast? I don't know. So they make these, you can buy them at, again, Amazon, big box stores. They're like a flat panel LED. I don't know if you've seen them. They're usually about 12 inches in diameter. The rim comes in white or black, and they are, you can change the color temperature. So LEDs like all the rage right now. The thing with LED is that it comes in different colors, just like your bulbs that you would buy for a regular incandescent fixture also come in different colors. And so I'm a huge fan from a presentation standpoint, huge fan of 5000 K or 5000 Kelvin. It's they call it daylight. So it's like super clean, like crisp white, not really warm, like orangey white. So we typically set all our fixtures to that. But the good thing is our fixtures they call it tunable. You can change the color temperature on the fixture. So if somebody buys a house and they don't like that, it's too like bright or whatever, they can always dial that down to like a warmer tone, like an orangey, like those Edison bulbs that people used to like in the 2010s. They can convert all the light back to that as well. So we just pop one of those LED flush mounts in all the secondary bedrooms typically, and just pop a smaller version in the closet if it needs a closet light.
Okay, perfect. Blinds.
In an ideal world, if you've got them there, great. I don't think you're going to make any more money if you are not, if your house doesn't have blinds. And, so I hate a blind personally. We have curtains on all of our windows at my personal house. But if we were, if we had moved out of our house, we were renovating it to put it on the market, I would not go. Blinds are really freaking expensive. I would not go spend a bunch of money on blinds and pay to have them installed. I would just leave the windows bare and let that be something that you could potentially concede at closing as like a seller credit for XYZ. I also think that houses present better when they don't have anything in the windows because you get more natural light and people are oohed and awed by the house when they're walking through it and all that. So.
Okay, that was a really good point because that is something that I've spent a lot of money in the past. And I'm like, this is terrible. And then it's also awful when you see like those old blinds, those like they're like the really small, like plasticky ones. And you're like, that's not right. But replacing them is hella expensive. So now, okay, the key is just take them down. Don't do anything. Thank you for saving me money. At this point, is there anything that you want to say about laundry room, basement, garage, hallways, like anything else? What did we miss?
We missed bathrooms. You want to talk about bathrooms?
Oh, yes. That's important. Yes, thank you. I was testing you, Jordan. You passed.
Yeah. So again, I think kitchen, number one, for sure sells the house. Number two, a really nice primary bathroom. And so, again, the level of renovation of your bathroom is going to depend on your budget. It's going to depend on the price point of the house, the market for sure that you're in. But, typically what we've been doing is if the fiberglass tub shower surround is in really great shape and can be cleaned and look new, we've been leaving them. And I said, I had to fight that for a little while. Like I'm the design guy and I love picking out like tile packages for showers and shower floors and bathroom floors and all that. But tile, number one, that's a really expensive renovation. So, it's a lot of material. It's a highly skilled install if you want it done correctly and you want it to look great. And it's just a lot. But number two, folks who, and again, depend on your price point, right? But folks who haven't ever lived with tile, like there's upkeep, right? Like grout has to be consistently taken care of and resealed and like monitored and stuff like that. And grout settles over time and it's just a lot. So, for me, fiberglass showers, as long as you clean them, they're really kind of bulletproof. So we've been leaving fiberglass showers and tubs if we can, and really just changing out the fixture. So if it's a relatively new style fixture, you could actually buy what's called a trim kit that basically just changes out the shower head and the spout and the handle. If it's an older fixture, then a lot of times it's just more cost effective and more timely to change the whole fixture out, and your plumber can come in and change that from the back side of the wall so he doesn't have to mess with the tub. And then whatever we do there, we'll just tie that into some new faucets. Big fan of like buying a prefab vanity from Lowe's or Home Depot. They're anywhere from like $350 for a single vanity to, you can get a double 60-inch vanity for like less than $1,000 and relatively easy to install, with some new faucets and stuff there, make a big impact. And then, if you can upgrade the builder grade mirrors instead of one big, slab of mirror with the clips and just get something with a nice frame to it. And, you can, again, big box stores. I mean, Target sells vanity mirrors. Walmart sells vanity mirrors. Hobby Lobby sells mirrors. Like if you can go grab a couple of mirrors and some new light fixtures there, I think that makes a big impact as well. But bathrooms are like really simple. Like they don't have to be crazy over the top. The floor plan is usually really functional in the bathroom, and you're really just kind of replacing your old 60-inch vanity with your new 60-inch vanity. Your old faucet and shower spout with a new one. We typically put all new toilets in. Again, I think it's a mental thing for a lot of buyers. Like if you know that the toilet's new, then that feels a lot cleaner, and toilets are like $110. So it's like not expensive at all. Yeah.
Okay, got it. I'm glad you circled back on that one because I took lots of notes. Okay, now I think laundry, basement, garage, hallways. What else? Did I miss anything or from those?
No, those are all good things. I mean, I think, garage, if the garage is drywalled, we typically, if we're going to paint the house, we typically have the painter paint the garage. I don't think you have to. It definitely doesn't add any dollar amount value to your house. But I think if you pull into your garage and it looks fresh and clean and freshly painted versus like old mudded drywall with the mud stripes down the wall, like, again, I think people feel like you did a really nice job, and I think it demands a little bit more respect there in the garage. But other than that, I mean, if the garage floor is like stained or that was your place to like spray paint your XYZ hobbies that you had in there, and now there's like outlines of spray paint all over the slab. That garage epoxy paint, is a really affordable, easy fix for that. But garages, I mean, it's a garage. I was going to say you're going to park your car in it, but you're likely going to park your car in your driveway and use your garage for storage because you have too much crap. So, so it's a garage. Mudrooms and laundry rooms, again, I think are so buyer specific, right? We remade our laundry room and it's gorgeous. And we put these like floating shelves in there, these massive floating shelves. And my wife hates it because everything's like out in the open and, she like hates it. Right. So I think it's like, it just varies on the person. Some nice storage cabinets in there is really nice, but I wouldn't go that route. If you just had the like wire shelving, over the washer and dryer where you used to put your stuff, I would probably just leave it. I don't think it's worth spending the money there. And then, like you said, hallways, again, you probably got a flush mount light in your hall. I don't think it's cost effective, to add can lights into a house if they're not already there. So like living spaces, primary bedrooms, kitchens, like if you don't already have can lights in place, I wouldn't go through the trouble of having an electrician installed because there's so much drywall patching and painting and like the fallout of trying to get those installed. I think it's too much. I would just probably put really nice light fixtures and go about your business.
Okay. Staging. You touched on it slightly in the beginning. You said stage it as if the people, like how they will use it, and you had the home office example. What are your thoughts on, do you do full staging? Back in Fayetteville, we used to do light staging. So it was basically like, the cutesy little, whether it's a wreath or doormat and some like freaking plants. And that was, you call it a day. So what's the deal in 2024?
If the house is completely vacant, it helps the buyer visualize for sure. Right. I wish we could stage every house that we renovated and took to market because, there's just something about, again, especially if they've never owned a house or they've never owned a house that size, or maybe you've got like a weird layout in your living room and you're not, most people are not gonna be able to figure out how to do it. Like if you can visually show folks, hey, this is where your furniture goes. Hey, this is what this little nook should be used for. I think it goes, it leaps and bounds for sure. I don't know what staging costs where you're at. Typically down here, we're going to be anywhere between like probably $2,000 and $3,500, depending on, the size of the house for a full stage, like all the main living spaces, primary bedroom, with or without an office, little touches in the bathrooms, that kind of stuff. That's a lot of money for somebody who's already spending money on renovation. And also I know some agents, pay for staging. Some agents make their buyers pay or their sellers pay for staging, whatever. So if it's vacant and you can stage it, absolutely for sure. If you're living in it, then I would for sure, declutter and depersonalize. And then if you can bring in a service, we've got a stager here in Charlotte that they're a design firm and a staging company together. And you as an agent can actually partner with them and bring them in to your seller consult. And they'll actually walk through, I think it's like $300, and they'll actually like make suggestions on, hey, you should put this chair in this corner. Hey, you should take this picture of your family down. Hey, you should, XYZ. And then they can also supplement and do like you're talking about with the light staging and bring in some plants, bring in, some pieces if the homeowner is missing those. So if you can afford to do it for sure, but also if the market where you're at is moving pretty quick and you're pricing things appropriately, then you may not make your money back, right? Because it may sell whether you're going to stage it or not. So I think it really depends on the particular situation and kind of a bunch of different factors. But if you can, for sure, I think it's a great idea.
What are your thoughts on virtual staging?
I don't know that I'm going to get on a soapbox, but I may teeter on stepping onto a soapbox here. I hate virtual staging. I think it probably has very specific implications where it's beneficial. However, likely what's going to happen is whatever virtual person gets paid to stage this house, which is likely going to be, probably a VA overseas or something like that, is going to stage with furniture that does not match the design aesthetic or the architecture of the home, right? So that's a red flag for me. Number two, yes, folks are shopping online with their eyes on Zillow or Realtor.com or whatever, but they're still most likely going to walk the house. And so they've seen these photos, but then they walk into the house and it feels nothing like the photo that they saw. That to me is a little more of like whiplashy than if they just walked into it knowing that it's not staged, right? So I think for me, I have not gone down that rabbit hole. I have seen some pretty big iBuyers who do a lot of resale and they virtually stage everything, and usually it's just not great. So I would not urge folks to do that.
Okay, perfect. Dude, I feel like we covered a ton of ground here. Is there anything that you're like, oh, we totally missed this? Like my bathroom example earlier. What did we miss? What did we not cover?
No, I mean, I think we did a really good job. I think we covered the majority of everything. Again, everyth's so market specific, right? So, if I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of average, Joe Blow agent, right? So, things you're going to want to know is like, hey, if I add this fence, what does that add to my resale value, right? Or if I renovate this kitchen, like I think you, as an agent, you really have to help your seller find that tipping point of like the money you put in, you're going to 2x that money back, or you don't really need to do it, right? The other thing is like, as the agent, if you're really trying to be an authority in your market, you probably not only should you know the things we're talking about, but you should also know how to get those things done. In other words, you need to know vendors, you need to know subcontractors, you need to know suppliers, you need to know where you can get these things. And myself, right, if you really want to build kind of a concierge level service, then you'll have that kind of like project management division of your business that you'll also be able to market and roll out to your clients. So then, that's why this business is hard, right? Is because, you can absolutely tell your seller that they should, put new countertops in, paint their house, install LVP, change out their light fixtures. But if they don't know the right stuff to pick, then then it's going to be hard for you to sell. And if you know the right stuff to pick, but then they hire their friend who doesn't know how to install the flooring, then it's going to be hard for you to sell. So like all these suggestions are really great, because what they're trying to do is help your seller make more money and help you accomplish what you said you would do. But if you can't provide the ancillary services alongside of that to really help get them from point A to point B, then it kind of can get a little dicey, and then your seller's going to get frustrated because they did paint their house the color you told them to paint it. The paint just looks like shit because they hired this cheap painter that nobody had vetted, right? So I think that's where agents can really set themselves apart, is not only knowing what we're talking about and these design decisions, but then also having a book of business or a book of vendors that they can also, partner alongside to really provide solutions for their sellers.
I have one more question. And I know we've already been on here a long time, so I promise this is my last one. But recommendations for how agents can learn general pricing. Because walking around, it's like they just learn from you all the things to recommend. But the next question is always, well, how much is that going to cost me? What would you recommend for just enough for them to be not dumb in that moment?
Yeah, great question. From a material standpoint, like, the Home Depot and Lowe's app are your friends, right? So, if I can tell you that the flooring that we just installed is $2.13 at homedepot.com. And I could, so I know in my mind, as we walk around, I know that we typically budget around $4 a square foot for LVP material and install. And that's because I know how much LVP costs because I've purchased it before and I've gotten some quotes from some vendors, right? So it's just reps, really, Shelby. Like the more, I would find vendors and I would ask for quotes and I would, divide that by square footage. And, I would have like a running list of, hey, I know quartz countertops from my guy are going to typically cost around $50 a square foot. So I know that if this kitchen, has this many square feet of countertops, I know we should budget about XYZ. And, it's just going to get them in the ballpark. But it's reps and it's finding the right people and asking the right questions and being a student. A lot of agents really should lean on their builders and investors for this kind of stuff, I think, and be students of that side of the game. Number one, because it makes you a well-rounded real estate agent. But number two, because I think it could be helpful to the retail side of the business as well.
Okay, Jordan, we have had enough of you helping everyone else. Please tell us how listeners can help you and your business.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking. I would say, referrals for sure. So I'm in the Charlotte, North Carolina market. So I'm licensed in both North and South Carolina because Charlotte, lives on that border right there. So any referrals that you want to give here, I will absolutely take those. And then we also run an investment business, right? So we're actively doing new construction and renovations 1990 or newer. And so if you've got properties or sellers that just want to even forgo the MLS and sell their property off market in the Charlotte metro area, I would say like an hour radius of Center City, Charlotte, then I think we could be a solution there as well. So you can, I'm sure you'll give everybody my contact info and all that, but Instagram is kind of where I live. So the DM inbox is always open, and that Instagram handle is at Jordan Smith SC, as in South Carolina.
Perfect. Yep. That was my next question is where is the best place for people to reach out? And so Instagram, Jordan Smith SC, right? Did I get it right?
Yep. That's it.
Okay, perfect. And we'll have it in the show notes, of course, so you can click there and send him all the referrals for Charlotte, North Carolina, and then that South Carolina border. Send him all of the deals. Jordan is the man. He knows his stuff when it comes to design. And if you want more of Jordan, you can always go to episode 1172, where he talked about his specific niche, where he does, I'm not going to butcher it, but he has contract packages, kind of like what he talked about with project management and design. And so he has additional services on top of his listings. So that way he can really capitalize in providing the client a service that they greatly need and get compensated for it. Did I butcher that, Jordan?
You did great. Nailed it.
Oh, yes. Okay, perfect. And guys, that is all we have for today. You know the drill. You can hang out with me and the owner of the show, The Shelby Show, Erin and Stady on the gram. We love hearing from you. Otherwise, that is all we have. Jordan, thank you so much for all of this information. And Real Estate Rockstars, thanks for listening.